Hi, everyone. I am Denise Tran. I am the CEO and founder of Bun Mee Vietnamese Sandwich Eatery, founded in 2011. We have a mission to be America's next best sandwich.
Thanks, Denise. Chris Brady, co-founder and president of Timber Pizza Company, founded in 2014 in Washington, D.C. with a 1967 baby blue Chevy truck and a dream. We've now grown to 9 locations and 5 trucks, and franchising is how we're expanding our footprint across America.
That's exciting, Chris. That's awesome. I do have a question for you. So on your pizza, right? I read that you guys are like Michelin rated or you've won a Michelin or there's some Michelin recognition, which is so cool and makes you distinctive. What is your favorite and least favorite pizza topping?
Oh, fantastic. For me, I'm super classic, maybe
Yeah.
boring, if you will, but pepperoni guy, crispy, not too much cheese, just kind of right down the middle is my everyday. I'm not an anti-pineapple guy by any means. I know that's controversial for a lot of folks, so we're not going to take it there for least favorite. As far as least favorite goes, I'm pretty adventurous eater, so you're going to have a tough time really knocking me off my rocker with any pizza topping, but we'll reach back into the old school and say black olives. They just a lot of times when I had pizza that had black olives, I was like, okay, they're here. That's a little more of a salad topping for me. So we'll reach back in time. We certainly don't put those on our pizzas, but I'll go with black olives for least favorite.
Yeah, I'm the same. I just feel like I know people get really inventive with pizza toppings and I really enjoy it, but you just can't you can't, um that classic pepperoni with just excellent ingredients. You just kind of that it just somehow always hits the spot, So
Definitely. It's like
and
a
I
great
always I was gonna say like sardines or something or like anchovy, like I've seen like anchovies and I'm like, oh no.
the anchovies definitely crossed my mind on the least side of the house, but I went I went with the veggie. If you gave me an anchovy pizza right now, I'd probably say I'll try it, but
Yeah.
a little bit begrudgingly.
Yeah, or like broccoli or something. I don't know. It's just too
Yeah,
healthy. I don't know.
I'd say yeah, pizza's not meant to be team broccoli, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Um, any other questions for me to start the party, or should I?
Yeah. So one of the questions I had for you was, there was like a moment and you know, um, probably a decade ago when food trucks were like exploding. I don't know. I know you're out in the DC area, right? And I'm out in the Bay Area, but I know in the Bay Area there was just a moment everyone was just opening a food truck, and it was just that was a big thing. Um, but I've also and but the transition from food truck to brick and mortar has always seemed to be something that some folks could do it and some folks found challenging. And so I didn't always see those brands transition well into brick and mortar. And so you guys have successfully been able to do that. So I'm really curious how you were able to do that and what was that transition like for you and how, I would love to learn like what you guys did differently to be able to transition yourself successfully into brick and mortar.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially in regard to the timing, kind of the boom of the mobile food and food truck industry in major cities. When you got your start in 2011, when Timber got its start in 2014, that was really the rise of the food truck in DC, in San Francisco, and New York. I saw that through my life and starting a mobile food business. I saw that in my travels. The ferry building pork sandwich, the what is it,
Yeah.
Roly
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Had it for the first time in 2012, one of my all timers. Just wanted
Yeah,
to give
yeah.
them a little shout out and
They're so delicious. Yeah,
hope that they're still rolling along
they
for the
still
next
are.
time we get out there. For us, it was all about proof of concept, garnering a following, and really, learning, how to deliver a great experience in kind of dire circumstances. I think the mobile food business challenges you because it's legit moving parts. You're always facing some traffic. You might have a flat tire. You're gonna forget some product or have different challenges parking at the farmers markets, and just thinking of the early days and all the different things that were thrown at us, and kind of nonstop chaos, if you will, really prepared us for once we settled into brick and mortar pizza shop and a cozy environment for the community. We were like a little bit of breath of fresh air, where we said, awesome, like it's all here, people come to us, we want to bring them in here. And we had already built this great following and gotten our brand up in DC, where people knew the cool baby blue truck. People understood that we had a product that was exciting, and generally just tried to give people a great experience and have a great time when trying our pizza. So it's a ton of hard work. I can remember so many great food trucks and mobile concepts that we became friends with, worked alongside. Many of them have done great and have brick and mortar, or continue to roll around the streets of the DMV and do great things. And then, just the way of the city has changed. And, the food truck kind of peak before COVID has certainly changed, with downtowns across America not being as, densely populated with the office population. I think has really changed the game for the mobile food business. We count ourselves very lucky. We still have 3 trucks out of DC and 2 in Richmond that do great. Catering is a huge part of what we do. A lot of our original farmers markets are still in play. So we love that business. It's a very hard business, and just count ourselves fortunate to be able to continue to do that while also transition to successful brick and mortar.
Oh, that's great to learn. Was that always part of your business model, or did it just kind of organically evolve into, was it strategic, or was it like, oh, now we've got something and now we've got money and now, like, was it
It
organic?
was, yeah, I'd say a blend of both for sure. We
Yeah.
always wanted to do it, but you got to prove it a little bit before you take that leap. Especially, we were so young, and at that time didn't have the wives or the mortgages or all the pressure and responsibility. So taking my shot
Yeah.
at 25 was,
Yeah.
what's the worst that happened? I go get another job I don't love. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like, let's go with it and see what happens. And once we started to get our rhythm, get our following, host some pop-up dinners, and do some seated fun collaboration dinners with other brands we were friends with. We're like, okay, we got this. Let's roll for it and sign a lease and take a bigger swing.
Yeah, that's exciting. I remember when I had opened our store in 2011, and the investment it took to do it. I would just look at these food trucks and they're out there, and I would just longingly, kind of a little jealous that it just didn't cost that much to open. I'm like, how, so I was always curious, like how are those numbers working out? Does this maybe that should have, I was like, am I taking the right path? It seemed like this was a great way to get into it. But understanding that it's a lot on the back end of like hard work and hustle and a lot of unknowns makes it a business that has its own unique challenges.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the great point, the lower barrier to entry was, attractive proposition. We didn't have to go raise or borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was a pretty, hey dad, I need some help, I got this great idea situation. And I
Yeah.
remember taking the very little savings I had from my office job and a backpack down to make our first deposit. And that was a little bit of a scary feeling, but looking back on that now, I'm like, man, that was the move.
Yeah, I think it's like a great way to, if you're a young person with limited funds, but you have a lot of skill and a dream, you can test model something, and it's a great way to kind of test various different things inexpensively, right? Without making that huge, signing that huge lease. And making that capex expense that you really got to make it, or else you're in it for a lot of money. So it seems to be a good opportunity to, if you're young and uh, entrepreneurial and hardworking and have some great skills to test something out. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We're thankful we did it the way we did it, and at the time we did it when it was kind of strike while the iron's hot in terms of the mobile food business industry in our major cities.
Where do you see the food truck business going? Like, do you see that kind of declining? Do you see that holding steady? Do you see like another round of this, or do like where do you see that for
For us, or more so for the broader industry?
just like the broader industry, for folks that are like, hey, is there still a business out there for food trucks still, or has it kind of like, you know, declined in terms of popularity as a
Yeah,
model?
it's a great question. I think it's a little bit cyclical and also market dependent, right? I spent 10 years in DC, working for tech startups and ultimately founding Timber. And it was amazing. And I love the city and saw it change a lot. Now I'm, back in Annapolis, Maryland, where I grew up, married, have a 3-month-old at home. So like this is where my life is. I'm speaking to you from one of our restaurants here in Timber, Annapolis, that started our franchising program. And interestingly enough, several different very interesting and kind of hype and smash burger, gourmet bagels, and different food trucks have popped up here in Annapolis. And I think in some of the maybe smaller towns or less populous cities in America, there's opportunity for that where it was hot in DC. It was hot in San Francisco, New York, of course. Now, due to hopefully improved ease of regulation and making it a little bit easier, for some of these young and hungry entrepreneurs to launch their dream in different places. I'm starting to see a little bit of that. So I think it's super interesting. There is a market for it. At the end of the day, there's so many festivals, things to do, private catering. Like if you have the hustle, the product, and the brand that people like and respect, whether it's in conjunction with brick and mortar, or that's how you're going to get your start, similar to we did, and then ultimately try to take that step into brick and mortar and potentially franchising later on. There's a market for that. It's never getting easier. I'd say that it only gets more expensive running these businesses. It only gets more challenging
Yeah.
in terms of competition because people see opportunity and they strike. And there's I can think of 5 different bagel concepts that people frequent around here. But the new truck is definitely making waves on social. So I can't wait to try them out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, selfishly, I have one more food truck question, but selfishly, alternatively, would you recommend, if someone already has an established concept, right, that's food truck worthy,
Sure.
to then add a food truck as like an additional revenue stream? Like, is that like an easier path, because you already have like the infrastructure, and then it's like, hey, we'll just, you know throw out a food truck and like go out and kind of be that brand, expansion into like different areas. Like, is that kind of something that would be um interesting path?
I would give that a conditional yes as a good idea if you had a few things in place. Really
Okay.
strong, financial and operational prowess, knowing exactly what that investment is going to mean for impacting your current business, knowing exactly the different skill set and operational needs of the team that works outside. It's kind of
Yeah.
house cats and road dogs are always how we categorized. The folks that work in here and out there. I was the king of the road dogs for a long time, but I'm happy to be a house cat now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
it's not the same, that's for sure. And then,
yeah,
at the end of the day, it can be a powerful marketing vehicle if you're a brand, especially that's trying to, penetrate a competitive market. For example, like we're in, Raleigh Triangle, Raleigh Durham at this time, and potential to do a truck down there and start to really wave the banner of Timber, further and deeper into the Carolinas. That's a powerful tool. The catering business can be very lucrative if you do it right and give that white glove service that people expect when you're doing private events. But
Yeah.
let the record state it's not easy. Something will always go wrong, and it ain't for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, no, super super appreciative.
Great learnings.
Ready to send a couple questions your way. If that sounds good to you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Cool. We're going to take it a little bit, kind of zoom out and talk, about industry leaders and folks that either you've learned from or respect, watching from afar. And this could be restaurant or business, but picture your perfect dinner table. It's you plus three. Who would you want to have dinner with, and why? In the business and/or food and beverage community.
Oh, easy.
Perfect.
I there's in for me, in the fast casual space, I have actually I just had an amazing visit at the Panda Express team headquarters office. Got to spend some time with Andrew Chung's right hand man. Um, I was there all day yesterday, from um, 2 o'clock to 9 p.m. Got to got to visit the headquarters, got to spend time with them, understand their ethos, their philosophy, how they run things. So, going back to your question, it's so it would be Andrew Chung of Pan Express, Todd Graves of Raising Cane's, and it would be Daniel Myers, um, because he's such an excellent person with just great understanding of hospitality. Um, Raising Cane's and Andrew Chung would be specifically about running privately, being able to grow this business and have that excellent execution and ethos, and have a what I like about the founders that I respect and look up to is not just about like whether they could make great food and make a ton of money. It's whether they can really build a lasting legacy business where their employees and the people around them are impacted, and like on a culture level. um you can tell that they are all like, like the meeting yesterday was, it's one panda, meaning like they are all, I mean, you can talk to a cashier, a general manager, an area manager, you know, a C-suite executive, whatever, they all speak the same language, and they're all excited and they're all on board and they're just gung-ho about what they're doing. And it is amazing to see, as someone who understands how difficult it is to build teams and to build culture, especially at that level, in such a difficult business as the hourly, hardworking, grind of fast casual. To be
Mhm.
able to have people that are committed and love what they do at every level, at and every touch point, um, is an amazing testament to founder philosophy, intentionality, investment in people, and building the kind of company that really not just is about, how do we do every quarter, but it's how do we do for generations. And so for me, that conversation is what drives me and what inspires me. And so it'd be those three for me.
That's incredible. Yeah, really, well beyond restaurateurs, kind of, brand champions and, titans of this industry and folks that, have a legacy for generations to come
Yeah.
for all three. Just that would be a table that I would ask if there was room for one more and try to make
Yeah.
that be that guy at the restaurant that
Yeah.
edits the reservation to five at the very last minute, because I
Yeah.
think several of those gentlemen would definitely be in something similar if I had to choose as well. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Along those lines, and someone in your shoes now, as you expand, your brand and start to really go coastal, if you will, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I can't wait to learn more about New York. But knowing that there's a lot of aspiring and early stage founders, and folks that are dreamers and kind of in that same position we were 12, 15 years ago, respectfully. This is kind of a question framed on Instagram versus reality, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what do they, those folks listening to us here think it's going to be like when they launch their concept or take their swing? And what's it really like, based on kind of going back to your 2011 and early days, and even some of the challenges, that folks like us continue to face. Would love to hear, your kind of peek behind the curtain for those listening for that.
Yeah, your story of just all stuff happening, being ready for everything. I mean, I relate to that. Well, when I started Bun Mee, I was older than you. I was not in my 20s. I was in my early 30s, but I'd already had I had a career in law. I had practiced law for several years. I was used to having an assistant. I was used to having a paralegal. I was used to
Mm-hmm.
having a nice, clean, not corner office, but office with a view. And so I just went from that environment to now I'm in like jeans, like a t-shirt, like, smelling like fries every day and just really handling grease and getting myself into it. And I remember there's many late nights where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm sweeping floors, because someone forgot to do that or someone called out. And, it's just everything that is not glamorous, right? Because our business is not glamorous. I mean, I think it's seemingly that at some point from the outside, it's like, oh, they're having a great time. They're talking to guests. They're just out and about. But at the end of the day, it isn't a glamorous business because it's just the whole act of making food at high volumes can be really stressful. And so I for me, we just we it is a it was not it's a challenging business, so it takes so much heart, discipline, obsession, just this real genuine desire to want to see what you make and what you've created be out in the world and shared with others. And that's really what drives you to get you through all these really difficult days of like, I mean, the constant call outs, the equipment not working and you've got lines out the door, or your POS just went down and like you can't take orders and everyone's pissed, or like tickets are out of control. People lose tickets and they're like, and now like the customer's there and they're like, where's my order, and you're just like, oh my god. So I think it's not for the faint of heart, and it really takes the type of person that is calm under pressure, right? Thrives under this constant motion of activity. So it's I would I my journey was the first several years was a lot of just being really quick and thinking and problem solving and scrappy and wearing lots of hats and just getting your hands dirty and really being committed to what you're doing and really believing in yourself to do it. And then it does get easier, if you've got a business that's profitable, you can start scaling yourself a little bit where it becomes you work on your business instead of in your business, which is the goal. So I'm at a point where I can work on my business. And so it does over time get easier. And then you handle bigger, more complex problems.
Oh yeah,
so
it's
so the easier is not, it doesn't get easier, I guess. It just becomes your problems or the issues that you deal with have more complexity and have more financial repercussions. um so the stress of that, comes into play. But I think there's just that progression of that experience that you go through as a founder
Yeah,
that
no,
I've learned every step of the way. It's pushed me in every possible way, but I enjoy the journey.
it's amazing. I think the arc of your growth, from rolling up the sleeves and being in there and making the product and dealing with the bathrooms and dealing with the brooms and all the little things. That's not for everybody. That's for sure. And as you've grown and you know, where we both are now in terms of working on the business. And I love that you called that out, in executive roles. We're using a much different side of our brain than we probably were for those first 3 to 5 or however many
Yeah.
years. But yeah, I think the thing that stands out for me is like your relentless passion and pursuit. Like if you don't have that and just I will, or I'll die attitude, then that's not, this might not be for everybody.
I think this is a tough business, and I think and any business is tough, or else everyone would be doing it. But you really do need at the core that fire where it's like, I do this and that's it. This is this, I'm all in. You really have to have that to get through those difficult days. You definitely can't half-ass it, you know.
No, no doubt. There's no faking it. Like it will break you if you're trying to kind of, blase your way through it or what have you. I
Yeah.
think that's one thing I think that's cool that we share in common is that, being founders of our own brands and folks that really blaze the trail, that is as hard as it gets, right? Establishing a brand, establishing a following, growing it, and then ultimately being lucky enough to be in the position to, begin the franchising journey and start to partner with other folks to help provide kind of that launch ramp to entrepreneurship and
Right.
really the structure, brand, and all the benefits that franchising comes with to cut out some of those mistakes that we had to endure
Right.
early on and make it a situation where folks can whether it's diversify or become an entrepreneur for the first time, join our brands. And I'm humbled by that. I'm certain that you get that feeling having started your own thing and done it and thrown your entire life into it as well. Talk to me a little bit about letting people in and what you look for. One thing that really stood out for me as you described your journey was that relentless passion and kind of that fire. And it feels very much so that when you're talking to potential partners, that's probably requirement number one. How have you gone about your discussions with folks that you have struck partnerships with, and how are you evaluating awarding franchisees as you all really chart your course to becoming the next big thing?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that question. And I will ask you the same after I answer because you're further. Seems like you're further along than I am. I started the journey last year. Um, you know, our decision is we wanted to grow. We wanted a hybrid approach of corporate and a few franchise locations. So we didn't we don't want to exclusively focus on franchise growth, um, only because it is hard to find um, those folks that and I'm a little bit of a fanatic about like like um of whether they're going to be able to treat my baby as well and all of that. The control factor is always uh hard for me to let go. So yeah, I mean, for me it is we first and foremost we want partners that are aligned with our values and are aligned with the passion for our brand and understand its place in in I guess the Vietnamese community and beyond and what it means to our community. So and our mission, which is we want to be a national Vietnamese fast casual brand, which is still very white space at the moment. So we want to have folks that are passionate about representing this food in the most in the highest quality manner. And so that's really important. It's just that desire and that shared mission. And then, and it's important that they're properly financed. I think that's it's just that it's not meant for folks who because there's just so much that can go wrong. So it's really important for us that our franchisee partners are financed enough to kind of withstand, you know, something that can come up, and really be able to have what it takes to last, outlast like any potential issues. And then that they have the requisite experience. So for us, but like, so our process is, we have several opportunities to interview them, to talk to them, to talk to all the folks in there that would be involved. It's an in-depth, several, meetings of interviews and a presentation on us and what we do. And, I've thought about doing personality tests. I was told to consider that. I haven't done that. I'm still new to this, but it really is a evolving process for us as we figure this out. But right now, what we do is we do a lot of in-depth, interviews on finding and asking the right questions to figure and flesh that out. What do you guys do? What do you look for? Because it sounds like you have a similar um, type of ethos where you have like a place that has a lot of soul, a lot of personality and your locations and a distinctive experience, right? And so how do you shepherd that to other folks, right? How do
Yes.
you vet folks?
Yeah, I think scaling culture is what keeps folks like us awake at night.
Yeah.
Now that we're taking that leap on a similar trajectory to try to grow our babies into toddlers and ultimately food adults, if you will. And really, at the end of the day, very similar to how it sounds like you all are approaching your growth. It starts with people that have a reverence for the brand, a reverence for the community. Really, I think alignment on values is extremely, extremely important to us, and that's really where it begins and sometimes ends. Our core values of fun, community, growth, and quality. We live those every day. We check ourselves at the door. If our partners aren't living those, like we have discussions about why that is. And we, really lead in that manner where, we started this business because we wanted to have fun, be a part of
Yeah.
the community, quality. Like we wanted to make pizza that got recognized by Michelin. We wanted to make pizza that
Yeah.
ultimately got us, landed best pizzeria in America by Bon Appetit. Like we're so proud of that. We, hold ourselves to that standard as we continue to grow into new communities. And then, the growth aspect, franchising's a journey that we've been on for the past 4 years. But beyond just franchising and growing the company, I think the thing that I'm most proud of is providing growth opportunities for folks that want to take a similar path to you and I. Franchising has been an amazing door opener for people within our organization. We have, three different owner operators, a part of, our franchise system that all worked underneath, the Timber corporate umbrella that are now small business owners running their own Timber Pizza franchises with partners, including, here in Annapolis with Aaron Tompkins, who worked for, me on the mobile trucks. We were road dogs together for 7 years. And now he's co-owner of two restaurants, and we have plans to do many more. So providing the growth opportunity for folks that are also trying to achieve a similar lifestyle of grind, do whatever it takes, be in the trenches, and work super hard in this very difficult business that we are growing to ultimately achieve what they want in their lives in terms of a lifestyle, hopefully wealth, and the things that can come with doing really well in this business. Should you, quote unquote, hit your stride and make it. That's what I'm most proud of. So really, folks that have that shared vision and want to, build a team, be involved. Timber is not necessarily a, hey, I want to write a check to put a timber here. Tell me how it's done. I'm in brand. We want someone who's in it, not necessarily in there, every day operationally flipping the pizzas or what have you, but at minimum involved to be able to have these kind of conversations about how you grow a team, how you support the community, and what is the plan. I think the why and the how are the two main questions that I ask when I start talking to folks during our process. Is why do you want to do this, and how's it going to come to fruition? And certainly the financial aspect is a big part of the how. And people tell you a lot of things that aren't necessarily true.
Yeah.
And sometimes when that application comes back, you roll your eyes. But I think I've developed a pretty good cadence, and we like our process for being able to be super honest and upfront, and expect the same, especially with folks that we're thinking about partnering with.
Yeah. So what is like I said, you're further ahead than I am, but what has been like uh a biggest challenge of the franchising side, and I know I know what's been rewarding. It sounds like you've mentioned that, but has there been any big challenges that you've didn't consider, hadn't thought about in the franchise
Definitely.
journey?
Yeah, I think the franchising challenges aren't too dissimilar from the challenges that you face starting a food business. Like, number one, it always takes longer than you want it to. Number two, permitting and government regulations are always slowing down our ability to go make a dollar
Yeah,
and start to do this thing. And then
yeah,
number three, it's like franchising has to be the perfect storm, right? You need the right partner, the right market, the right location, the right timing. Like, so many things have to click for you to
yeah,
get the location open, have it, open strong, and also
yeah,
sustain sales and start to really find their stride operationally. That between us as a growing emerging brand that's learning a ton every single day, and the partners that we have trusted with the brand, we're very blessed to have a unique skill set from our different franchisee groups. We have a lot of folks from the food and bev industry. We have folks that have been successful in tech consulting, what have you. We have people in the behavioral test business actually that have recently joined us. So I can certainly chime in and give you a great recommendation
that's
on
great.
that.
That's great.
um, and then that gives us, when rising tides raise all ships, and you have a unique, diverse set of franchise partners. I think shared learnings is really one of our main focuses. 2026. How can we take the best of each group and share that with each other, and make sure that that's very open and communicative, so that we can all help each other grow and ultimately grow the system together. That's really where our heads are at. So, kind of getting those shared learnings out of people is a
Yeah,
challenge as well, because you know how it is when your head's down and you're working 60, 70, 80, 100 hours a week. You're not really thinking about, the guy 100 miles up the road that's doing the same thing. You're trying to pay the bills, grind it out, and you get
yeah,
stuck in your four walls working in the business. So, helping our franchise partners take a step out and all work on the business together in unison is a challenge, but it's something that we're really focused on this year.
yeah. I was, curious because I feel like there's so many pizza brands, right? So, but it seems like you guys have been really big, been so successful at distinguishing yourselves, because there's so many pizza brands out there, you
Definitely.
know? And so, what was that? Did you come out and was that something that again organically happened where you're like, oh wow, we actually have this amazing award-winning pizza, and or was it like something where you looked at the market and said, okay, there's so many pizza brands, we're gonna distinguish ourselves based on these things, or did it just all happen kind of organically, and then you've become this brand that has this honor of being, a Michelin? Because I don't, there's not a lot of pizza, there's a ton of pizza brands, but not a lot of pizza brands that are, you know, Michelin rated or that is number one by Bon Appetit. I mean, that's a whole different category. Was that something that you, I guess my question is, did you say, okay, we want to distinguish ourselves on this, therefore I'm going to do this?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I think, it really just kind of evolved from like how we wanted to do it. We said we want to, be ourselves, be authentic. We're not Italian guys, Andrew and I, my
Yeah.
co-founder. We're not chefs. We absolutely were not. We're not, classically trained restaurant people. We love pizza. We love 90s hip hop and R&B. We think we're a pretty good time and have, funny to semi corny jokes that people laugh at every once in a while. Let's go out, try to make people have a great time, serving them amazing pizza, and that's going to show through in our brand. I think, the authenticity of, just being ourselves, not taking ourselves too seriously, being able to say, hey, we screwed that up, we're going to make it right. That's such a hard thing for folks, especially, entrepreneurs that are, how we get. We're one lane. I'm going to do this my way or the highway, but we make mistakes. My bad. I'm sorry to the customer, and make sure that we're, making it right and doing better the next time. We knew, and we adopted the philosophy that our pizza is not going to be the best pizza every single day, but if we try really effing hard and make up for it and give people, the best customer service experience they could possibly have on that given day, that we have a good opportunity to bring them back. So we just embraced that. I think, the awards and the accolades came, we had a great product from day one, and then we brought on Chef Daniela, who, helped us stabilize our recipes and actually kind of, put our big, big boy pants on and got Andrew and I in line a little bit to, stabilize this thing. We start to hit our stride and, have, the consistency that we needed to be able to ultimately scale. And of course, it's not easy, but yeah, we count ourselves blessed to be in, a little bit of a kind of niche spot, especially in franchising. I don't see, a lot of folks with, the Michelin and recognition that we have, trying to expand in the manner that we are, which is definitely a challenge to maintain quality. But I think going back to scaling culture and ultimately partnering with the right folks to entrust in our brand and really, give the keys to the kingdom and drive it together. At the end of the day, the systems, the product, and everything, that we're building need to be absolutely strong. But better than anybody, people-based business, and when that person calls out or doesn't give the customer a great experience or says something that you kind of cringe and are like, hey, like, take it
Yeah.
easy. That's a
Yeah.
reflection on us, and that's scary. But I think the trust that we have to have and the partners that we're selecting for our brands has to be, it's a marriage at the end of the day. It's got to be rock solid.
Yeah, I resonate with your hey, we're two guys, we're not chefs, we just love good food. I mean, that was like my story. I'm like, I'm not a chef. I know Vietnamese sandwiches. I love them. And I'm gonna make the best Vietnamese sandwich that, like I'm gonna go out there and figure that out. And we also play 90s hip hop. And
Yeah,
that's our vibe too. So
amazing.
we're the Vietnamese sandwich version of you guys.
I love it. I
But
can't wait to.
definitely vibe on those same characteristics of our brand. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's because in the beginning it can feel intimidating because we're in San Francisco, which is such a foodie city, and not having the culinary chops, right? And being and coming out there and opening the shop. But like you guys, we were immediately, critically acclaimed for our food, which felt it was such an honor given that I had a little chip on my shoulder that I'm not I don't come from the culinary world, but it really um, kind of gave me the boost I needed to feel like, okay, I'm on the right track. I think on the food side anyway, that so I guess it goes to show for both you and I that you don't necessarily um, need to have a certain type of experience to that you think you do to be able to operate and excel at a very high level in the food
Yeah.
business. You know,
No, absolutely. I
there's
think
a lot more to it than that, just for folks that are like, oh, well, I'm just a home cook, or I don't, whatever, right? Like it's there's there's a lot more to it, that, and it goes to show that you can excel and be very successful doing what we do.
yeah, absolutely. Cheers to having a little chip on our shoulder and being kind of folks that made it from the ground up. It does feel good, and I'd say, yeah, like your unrelenting passion and just the way that you talk about, like, hey, I'm going to pound through this and do whatever it takes. In my mind, that every day, even especially these days now in this different part of the journey, and being in the office and being on Zoom and meetings and just using a whole different, skill set from what we were doing early days, cooking the product and hustling and
Yeah,
dealing with this and that. That unrelenting passion can kind of, close the gap between extreme talent, right? Like
sure.
it takes no effort to, try to out hustle whoever, you're going up against. And for me, I just think like if I'm not trying to get better or being, a sponge to folks in the industry that have done before me or trying to learn from, successful entrepreneurs, whether it be food and beverage or not, that'd be doing myself and our business a disservice. I think the biggest eye opener for me in the franchising community, when I've really loved, and I certainly, as you start this journey and start to go down the road as well, and it's amazing what people are willing to share and how supportive other folks that are way further down the line than Timber and Bun Mee are, and have more locations than we can count, and just really kind of you and I look at them and we're like,
Yeah,
I don't even know if I want to get there. That's so out there. Like,
yeah,
wow, they're I call them whales. I'm like, he or she is such a whale. Like, how am I on the same panel or in the same room with this person? This is amazing. And those are the type of people that will open up and have a conversation with you or I, and point out struggles of early learnings. And so for me, just being a student and a sponge of folks that have been very successful and are willing to share with me, I don't take that lightly. And the notebook. It's not legible to anybody else, but I write a lot to try to soak in as much as I can to make sure that I'm getting better at what I do every single day, or someone else is passing me, if you will.
for sure. One, I feel blessed to work in a community, that in an industry actually full of hospitality people. So we're just naturally like enjoy, talking to other people. Like that just comes like a part of the industry. But also it's a very warm, generous industry of people who are willing to share. And I love talking to founders because um, we all get, we all get the hustle and grind and how much everyone has put into building their business. And there seems to be an inherent level of I see you, right? And I get you, and I respect you, and that's something that's really great about our industry, and connecting with other founders. And it's just such a gracious, generous community of founders that I come across every single time I'm at a conference or in a conversation like with you, or eating, even meeting like an Andrew Chung, who is the most gracious, generous person that has given me so much of his time, and he doesn't have to, but it is really such a blessing. And then for us at our stage, there's so much for us to learn and grow, and it's just exciting. So
Yeah, no, it's
to see where it can go.
for sure. And you feel like a student a little bit, right? On
Yeah,
kind of going to franchise you and or founder you, and we are a part of the club, and kind of blazing our own trail and our own paths. And
yeah.
I'm so excited to see where you take yours, and follow along, and support in any way that I can. And Bun Mee Timber collab definitely has some
Yeah.
sauce to it. Once we figure out where that link up's going to be, I
You
think
can make
that'll
like a bun me inspired pizza. We've got some great like proteins that are really delicious.
most definitely.
You never know.
Now the wheels are spinning. Now the wheels are spinning. What's for dinner? But no, yeah. I mean, I'd say thank you so much for sharing your story with me. I definitely come away from this inspired and look forward to following your journey and continuing to see Bun Me as you go from San Francisco to New York. Congratulations! Amazing to see QSR highlight that, and can't wait to whether it's in New York or San Francisco. Make sure I come try some buns in a rice bowl as
Yeah,
well
yeah,
sometime soon.
no, it's so awesome. It was so wonderful to meet you, Chris. I really enjoyed learning from you today, and just it's always so much to learn and so much to be inspired by. Congratulations, also, and yes, anytime you're back in San Francisco, hit me up, drop by, and I'll definitely do the same because I really want to try out that Michelin pizza of yours
Most
and
definitely.
the 90s hip hop.
Yeah, we got to do a playlist collab as well, so
Oh, I know. Oh my God.
we can link the music before we link the food.
Yeah, that's so great. Thank you so much. It was
You
awesome to
too.
talk to you, Chris.
Appreciate it.